This is a podcast or something like that. What's up? What's up? Hey, what's up? Hi, welcome to the 32nd episode of Verbal Journal, if my calculations are correct. Set your phasers to 32, as they say. And welcome, as we have a fair little bit to talk about. A lot of important developments in the Verbal Journal extended universe. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good day or night or morning or evening or middle day. Middle day, I think is the correct way to put that. I'm doing good. I had a good weekend. I have this back pain that's kind of nuts. It hit me really suddenly yesterday. I had been getting over a slightly different back pain. I think it's just from sitting too much, probably painting a lot and not paying attention to my posture and stuff. And I'm not quite sure. I think it's just sitting a lot, maybe sleeping a little weird. But yeah, yesterday I was going to the store. I was going to this thrift store and buying more canvases to paint on. And just as I was there, I'm reaching to pick something up and not a heavy thing. And it made no sense. And suddenly I got genuinely severe back pain. And I was like, Jesus Christ, what do I do? I had to sit down because I was I was like, if this gets worse, I won't be able to move. It was really bad, and then it sort of just faded enough where I could buy the canvas and the frame and then bring them home. I got one frame so I could paint over it, and then one canvas so I could paint over it. The frame I paint over the glass, not the actual frame, and then I just have a frame thing. But anyways, yeah, so that and then I'm still dealing with it today, which is kind of annoying, but it's good at least that the pain I had this other pain in my right shoulder blade for the past week. And I actually paid for a massage on Wednesday is how desperate it got. And the massage really helped. And then I just kind of chilled a bit. And then on Friday, I wanted to be in okay condition because as I mentioned last week, I moved offices, which involved carrying a couch with my friend. So that actually wasn't bad. It was a light couch and it was fine. And I'm sure that did not aggravate it. I know if you're listening, you're like, really? Really, dude? You're gonna sit there and tell me that carrying a couch on Friday is not the reason you had back pain on Saturday? I swear it's not. I mean, it's possible it is, but it was not a heavy couch. I had no pain in the rest of the day, anything like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, I have to say it's possible. It's possible. But point is, I should probably take off painting today, Sunday. I should probably just not paint, which is fine. I have other stuff to do, but I painted all day yesterday, pretty much, a bunch of different canvases, and yeah, that I got a huge canvas at the thrift store, and I got a frame, and I painted white over the picture in the frame, and then I painted all different colors over the canvas, put down a layer of sort of smooth fading colors, very, very pretty. So I'll give that 2 weeks to dry, or a week and a half, maybe a week. Just mess with it when it's mostly dry. Yeah, oils really incentivize layered sort of experiments. I can't believe I used to do most of my paintings in one night. When I was in college, I would just chill with my friends, and do a painting in a night. And I'd be like, that's my painting. And it's it was all acrylics or watercolor and stuff, which doesn't matter. You can still layer acrylics and watercolor. There's still no reason to give up, except it is harder when everything dries and you're like, okay, well, now if I want to touch up that thing, maybe I have to completely redo all that color instead of blending in some new color with the old, blah, blah, blah. Point is, so I have a nice day coming up. I also don't have work tomorrow, which I got to remind myself. I almost just forgot for a second. It's Labor Day, which is an interesting event here in the United States. But also, I'm just taking off. So I'm taking off tomorrow. I got one client via teleconference Tuesday. Taking off Wednesday. I believe I don't have any clients Wednesday. I just know I have a doctor's appointment. And then I think I'm going to a show or something. Do I have client Wednesday. No. Okay, so I have one client teleconference Tuesday, two clients teleconference Thursday, and then that's it. I'm off tomorrow and I'm off Wednesday. And this is all to give myself a little time to get set up in the new space. And then on Friday, I'll do teleconference from the new space instead of from home. And then maybe I'll do one of the previous ones. And then I'll do some in-person appointments. I am so excited, y'all. I just wanted to talk about it because, like, I know I talked about it last week and the some of the issues at my current office, but like, it's so cool. Like, I'm so excited to have a new office. I really hesitated to sign a lease this time, the previous like, I just like was like, I don't want to sign a lease, but I just did it. I signed a lease and like and I'm in, and now I have a space that's like really, really nice. It's just so much more professional. It's got so much more professional waiting room. It's got my name on, like, you know, the directory in the building. You know, you walk in, there's a directory. Oh, you know, my name, and then like name on my door, like, you know, stuff that like is just way more professional. Like, I had my own sort of like sticker with my business name I would put on the door, but now I don't need that. I have like a more official nameplate, and like it's quiet. The building is so much quieter, so I'm just gonna like really, really enjoy being able to freaking focus on my work. And like a few months ago, or like maybe less than that, but like, you know, I go through these different phases, like spending more time on video work, spending more time on paintings, spending more time. Like, I've done a lot of continuing education for my job, like a lot of trainings. I've also done just like personal continuing education where I'm like, I want to learn more about this. Like, it's not even a course. I don't get credit for it, but I need to do it. You know, reading the new DSM. And I now that I've gotten this move done and, you know, I'm really comfortable with my caseload, as we say, the number of clients I have, I really feel like I can spend a bit more time again doing continuing education for myself, especially personal research and reading for my job, you know, just to stay sharp, which will feel really good. Like, I'm always putting my best foot forward with my job. And then just like keep doing art and stuff in my free time. And yeah, I am hoping to make progress with a video at some point soon, but it's not a huge concern of mine. So yeah, very cool stuff and very exciting. So today I'm hoping to gonna finish the verbal journal, and then gonna go with like a family member that has a car and go to try to find a desk chair that could double as my therapy chair, and then like for me, because I already have the couch for the clients. And then I need a desk. I guess I need a desk. And then I need like a filing cabinet and maybe like another light and maybe like a little like table for people's drinks. I already have one, but it's a little janky. So yeah, very fun stuff, good stuff. But yeah, that's all that. That's life, but you don't care too much. Well, you might care a little about that. I'm not quite sure. Let's find out what people care about by going early on in the pod to the Verbal Journal Podcast mailbag segment. So you can write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. That's VERBALJOURNALPODCAST @gmail.com. And we do have a message today by Simply Snap, subject line, "She's back." Oh, we are so back. Hello, Mr. Therapy. I was thinking about therapy, and I remembered I have an insider behind enemy lines, the man who knows what therapy is. That's my name. I'm with a new clinic that allows us to send one message a day to our therapist. Interesting. And they can get back to us within like 48 hours. It's really weird being able to text my therapist, and there's obviously a bunch of things keeping both of us safe in the situation. The primary rule being that this isn't a crisis line, and if we're ever in real trouble, we shouldn't text our therapist before seeking actual immediate help. Very interesting. Being able to chat with my therapist in this way made me think of them like a pen pal, but one with unconditional positive regard for me. Yeah. That got me thinking, is unconditional positive regard even a real thing, or is it merely something therapists strive for? Do you think you have unconditional positive regard for any of your clients, or just that you'd like to have it for them? Or do you think the concept is incorrect to begin with? Love the podcast. Thanks for doing it every week. Thanks, Simply Snaps. I really enjoy doing the podcast, and I appreciate you listening and writing in. So, friend of the channel, Snaps, thank you for the fantastic question. I just want to respond to the text message part first. That's a really interesting situation. So I have text messaging like enabled with my clients through my phone line that I use for my work. Like people can text me. So people will sometimes text me without us ever talking about it beforehand because they'll just like see, oh, I wonder if I can text him. And it'll usually be about scheduling. And if people go beyond that, where they're like, oh, you know, this thing we talked about in our session, like now it's happening, and they're like reaching out to like update me or something, I will usually, well, if there's something urgent, I'll respond quickly. If they somehow reach out about something urgent, or like someone texts me on a day where we canceled the appointment, like tomorrow, Labor Day, someone forgets we canceled the appointment. And then they text and they're like, are we meeting today? Like, I'll respond as quick as I can, obviously, to try to help them. But anyways, if someone tries to text about something not scheduling related, which it sounds like the place you go to is sort of like finding a way to make that possible. That's totally possible for a lot of therapists. I just don't like treading into that because I feel really limited by how much I can help. It's this weird, complicated feeling of like, I want to help via text, but I feel like I can do very little without like overstepping. It's really good to have that limit of one message a day because it makes it a lot like the boundaries are clear. It's not like, oh, how long are we going to talk and stuff, and it's confusing for both of us. So that sounds good. I assume the therapist just sends you one message too. Within 48 hours too is good. You're not expecting anything particular. It's not like bad to have text messaging capabilities. It's like I've thought of ways like how do I sort of, if I wanted to do more intensive work with someone, how could I do that in an ethical way? And certainly being able to touch base more frequently is good. I do have clients email me sometimes like journal entries, writing that they do. I always encourage clients to feel free to share music or writing or anything they make if they want to, and I'll read it or see it or listen to it before we meet. But yeah, I have had situations where people text message me and they're, it's something where it's not urgent and I want to make sort of my boundaries clear. So maybe I'll take, maybe if they message me at 6 p.m., I'll respond the next morning for sure. I'm not, trying to be like, oh, I'm always available. Because the problem is, even if I am available, if I respond really quick, I'm creating the expectation that I'm available more often than I will be able to be consistently. So and then sometimes I'll have to talk about it with people like, hey, like no worries, but I won't always be available via text. So I don't want you to rely on it for a way to communicate with me. Unfortunately, it's like not really a service I provide, I guess, being available via text. But a system like you have Snaps, that's a pretty good way to make it possible without worrying too much about misunderstandings. But regarding the unconditional positive regard, that's a great question. I mean, so I would say like the way it's understood by me is it's an ideal. So it's like the type of thing where it's hard to say like, oh, do I actually have unconditional positive regard? I'd say it's something you're always striving for. That doesn't make it not a real thing though. I would say it's a real thing. It's a real ideal that you're striving for. It's a socially constructed idea. But it's a real one that you're striving for. And it's sort of like when I talked about like how people were saying I should have more empathy with Walter, and I was like, oh, but he's not my client. Like if he was my client, like you're always trying to see, it's not looking past the harm that someone does or anything like that, but always trying to contextualize who someone is and what they're doing through the most empathetic way possible and through understanding like the factors that have contributed to their behavior. Being able to not judge someone, not holding like negative qualities, as who they are. And it's not something you do to be nice. It's something you do to make your work more effective. To make someone want to work with you, first of all, because you believe in them improving, but also, it's like a truly helpful way to view people. 'Cause like, you just can get bogged down with any sort of like negative thoughts. There's no need to like have negative thoughts about a client. Doesn't really help, to be like, oh, this person's like annoying or this or that. Like, it's just not, it doesn't help. And it's not even necessarily true. It's more of just an expression of like burnout or features of burnout. So unconditional positive regard is good for the client. It's also good for the therapist because I'm trying to think of a good analogy. But I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's not, when you're a therapist, like you're not like working on a car. Like it's not an object. It's like a real person. And you always have to like be respectful of that person that you're working with, and understand them as, having agency and, positive qualities within them that can help improve their situation. So if you get bogged down with like negative estimations of a client or, you get annoyed or bothered or something, it's just going to throw you off track and make you like less effective in connecting with them. So yeah, you'd like to have it for them. I mean, if you're a therapist and you can tell that you're failing at having unconditional positive regard and you're like, you have to check that because it'll come out and it'll not be helpful. I mean, I think in our life, sometimes we, like, if you think about outside the realm of therapy, sometimes we, like, let that regard go negative for people. And I think, like I talked about with Chuck and Jimmy, sort of, like, you can kind of almost, like, you're subtly trying to manipulate the person by having negative regard for them. You're like, I'm regarding you negative, so you better change. And I just don't think that's, like, the effective way for people to change. So in therapy, it's like, hey, let's try to not do that. Let's make sure we view people as like positively as possible and don't let our own sort of emotions about, like, if I'm working with someone who's cheating on their partner, that certainly happens. That'll happen. I can believe that that's a bad decision. I can believe that they're causing harm and that's a bad decision for them and for their partner and for whoever else might be involved. But I'm going to try to not let that color... Oh, okay, hold on. I'm getting a call. 1 second. Okay, we're back. Yeah, so I'm going to try to let someone cheating on their partner not sort of make me view them negatively. Because if I view them negatively, or if I say, oh, they're like immoral in my mind or something like that, or, oh, they don't care about their partner's feelings. Sorry, I'm getting arrested. But like that way of looking at it could be false. It could be less helpful. And there's no point in getting bogged down in a way of seeing it that sort of makes you in an adversarial relationship with the client. You want to try to understand with their motivations. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them. You just want to be able to shift in and out of the lens of empathy comfortably and not get stuck outside of the lens of empathy, which you can do if you're too bogged down in your own emotional reaction to someone's behavior. Because like in life, if you're like, oh, that person's like, negative and they're antisocial, like I want to not affiliate with them, like fair enough, that emotion is useful, that resentment, that annoyance, whatever, it's useful because you can just not affiliate with them. As a therapist, you're not just going to like stop working with a client because they do some immoral stuff, so it's like if you're not going to stop working with them for that reason. That would be unethical. So you have to like do your best to support them and help them and also minimize harm in their life, which comes through empathy, and understanding where they're coming from, what their motivations are. And, some of that cognitive work can be negatively impacted by negative positive regard, by negative regard. So like anything unconditional, I think it's fair to say it's more of an ideal than a reality, because life is full of conditions, I think. But anyways, great question, Snaps. Thanks so much for spawning such an interesting dialogue, and thanks for listening to the pod. So today on the agenda, after that 20-minute introduction, we got more to talk about with artist biographies. That's right, everybody. Everybody who's like, hey, we haven't talked enough about artist biographies. So it's been something that we've been going into for a little bit, for the last bit. When did I start talking about artist biographies? Was it before the social hypersensitivities one? Yeah, no, after. It was after the news episode. Was it in the nothing episode? Was it, I think, oh no, bad artist biographies. Yeah, but that was after the first one. So the nothing episode, I must have talked about the Rauschenberg. And then bad artist biographies, I talked about the Paul Klee one. And then concerning artist biographies, I talked about the Max Ernst one. And then last episode, I followed up a bit, talked a little bit about the Max Ernst one. Well, I did keep reading it. I did finish it. I'm glad I did. It was interesting. Still had some significant problems with it. It was just like treating him like a saint and like the savior of like mankind, and not critical enough. But still very interesting and worthwhile. But yeah, if someone wrote a biography, I would want it to be a little bit more critical. I don't know. Yeah, but I'm glad I read it. I mean, Max Ernst's art is still like profoundly inspiring for me. But so I finished that, and then I read it wasn't like a full biography at all, but I had a book about Yves Tanguy. I never learned how to pronounce his name. Let me look that up. Yves Tanguy. I don't know how to pronounce it. Hold on. He is genuinely one of my favorite painters, along with Max Ernst. I might even like him more. Wait, Yves Tanguy? Wait. Okay, pronounce.
Yves Tanguy.
No way. Yves Tanguy. Yves Tanguy.
Yves Tanguy.
Yves Tanguy. Really? It's not Yves Tanguy? Fuck, dude. Are you kidding me? Let's try this one.
pronouncenames.com.
Sorry, that was way too loud.
Yves Tanguy.
Yves Tanguy. Wow.
Yves Tanguy.
Yves Tanguy. Wow. Yves Tanguy. Yves Tanguy. Wow, I was not alone. Yves Tanguy. Yves Tanguy. Wow. Here's another one.
Yves Tanguy.
Yves Tanguy. Yves Tanguy. Yves Tanguy.
Yves Tanguy.
It's spelled Y-V-E-S, last name T-A-N-G-U-Y. Yves Tanguy. So, wow, okay. It's not Yves Tanguy. Okay. I mean, I didn't think I was pronouncing it right. I just stopped trying at a certain point instead of looking it up. So, Yves Tanguy. Okay, so Yves Tanguy. Unbelievably amazing painter. Unbelievably similar to Ernst in the meticulousness, but more of like a painter's painter. Like experiments less with, I feel like, other mediums of applying paint. But the thing about Yves Tanguy's painting is very uniform. Like, I mean, even in this, so I was reading a book, it was a MoMA, like 1955, like MoMA exhibition they put on after he died. He died really young. And like 40s or something, 50s maybe. Wait, no, I do know, because that's part of what I'm trying to learn. He was born in 1896, I believe. I'm not getting, yeah, 18, no. 1896, yeah. Wait, was it 1896? No, it was... Fuck, I'm getting my dates mixed up. He was born in 1900. Right. Okay, 1900. And when was Dali born? Dali was born 1904. Right, I knew it was right around 1900. So Max Ernst was born 1891. Yves Tanguy was born 1900. Dali 1904. And I really enjoyed this. So he died at 55. Wow. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this like retrospective. So it was a bunch of paintings in this little book I've had for a long time, and then it, gave some details of his life. It was very, very worthwhile to read, very interesting, lots of interesting details, how he went about painting. Apparently he did it more infrequently, didn't try to sort of force his inspiration. He had a really nice barn that he would paint in. Everything was very clean. You can sort of get that from his work. Very interesting. And so I read that, and then now I have a huge book about Kandinsky. It's also put together for an exhibit, I believe, but it must go into way more detail because it's huge and like really nice. It's like a really, really nice book that I think I might have stolen. I don't remember how I got it, but back in the day, I did sometimes steal books from bookstores. I don't suggest doing that. It's very stupid unless you're like extremely poor and you need books to like eat or something. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So Kandinsky's interesting. He was born in 1866, but he didn't really devote himself to painting until 1896. this is not a full biography of his whole life, but so I don't know exactly how much he was into art before. But when he was 30, he was like a lawyer of some kind, and he was like, I want to just devote myself fully to painting. It's now or never. So that's really interesting to read. 30 years old, and he went on to define the abstract movement. He's like one of the most famous and successful abstract painters of all time. Really interesting guy. Seems to have had a lot of like almost come at painting in like a scientific, like experimentation way. Understanding perception in ways that are very interesting. So yeah, that's been really good. But then the other thing I wanted to go back to, which I'm sure I mentioned on a previous one, was the first artist biography that probably got us going in this theme. I've been reading the Robert Wyatt biography. He's a famous musician from England. Was in the band Soft Machine, founding member of Soft Machine, which changed a lot after he left and before he left, or got pushed out. And it's been a really interesting biography. It's called Different Every Time. It's an authorized biography. A lot of interviews with him and people he knew, Brian Eno, all these other musicians he knew, and knows because he's alive. How old is he right now? Robert Wyatt is right now 78 years old. He was born in 1945. 78 years old. Amazing, unbelievably talented, creative musician. I've learned so much about his life. I'm sure I mentioned this on the previous episode. Just like he suffered terribly with depression. I did not realize that listening to his music. I've been reading more. I leave the book at my office, so I've sort of read it a little bit less because it's just like whenever I have a pause in between clients or someone doesn't show up or something. But yeah, I've learned a lot more about him. He was a communist, which it's very clear from his music that he was like anti-capitalist in some form. He was actually a member of the Communist Party of Great Britain for quite a while. I think over a decade, maybe 2 decades. Him and his wife, Alfie. And he wasn't like a Stalinist. He definitely wasn't. He sort of like never fully like aligned, I feel like, with any one ideology within sort of the movement, but very consistently staying in touch with global affairs, making his music about struggles that people have had throughout the world, and really genuinely just like an amazing awareness of things in the world, and an amazing ability to make beautiful art that sort of inspires people to want to learn more about their surroundings and about the systems of the world. One interesting factor of his biography was he had these periods of like terrible depression where he was like unable to do things, and at one point he went to therapy and had a really like negative experience. It was really interesting to read about. He went to a therapist where he felt they were trying to blame things on his parents, which is such an interesting thing to read, because that is like a concern a lot of people have of therapists. Like, no one wants to go to a therapist and have the therapist push their own agenda, and that's what he felt. He felt the therapist didn't like her parents, and then she was trying to get him to not like his parents. And he had fine relationships with his parents. He had a lot of issues with his dad, in the sense that his dad died when Robert was really young, and Robert felt like he never got to show his dad like that he succeeded. He felt like his dad died without having like a positive view of his life, Robert's life, and his dad suffered with a lot of illness, and it was just maybe hard to get that quality time together. So, there's like a lot to talk about for Robert of his situation with his dad, and probably his mom too. But like, he had no need to hate his parents. The only reason you would need that is if they were like actively harming you, and you need to hate them to like help yourself get space or something. But so yeah, he really did not like that first experience with therapy, and I think he probably just went to like one appointment, it sounded like, or something. Oh yeah, she was also trying to get him, I think, to depend less on his wife. Robert was disabled by this point. I forgot to mention he had an accident, like falling out of a window, and has been paralyzed, I believe, from the waist down since, I don't know, around 25 or so. So that's obviously like a factor in his life, not a cause of his depression, but certainly a factor that would trigger, feelings of separation or alienation. So he was dependent on his wife for a lot of legitimate reasons, but also like he probably shouldn't have depended on his wife for all that stuff. So they did reach another point later where she wasn't happy with how he was depending on her, and he was very, very depressed, and he took Prozac, and he was like saved by it. And it was really interesting to read because like I used to be, before I became a therapist, I was pretty skeptical about medications and stuff. Since moving into social work, I've seen how much they can help people, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, medication, you just don't want to have like a black or white view of it. They can definitely help people. And it was just interesting to read this like biography of an artist I look up to almost more than any other artist, and like he just like at a certain point he was like, okay, I guess I gotta try Prozac. I guess I gotta try like an SSRI. Prozac's an SSRI, right? It's a classic SSRI, yeah. And it worked for him, and it helped stave off the depression. Another thing that I want to mention from this fucking book, y'all. So longtime fans of the pod will get why this is funny. Actually, only need to be listening to the pod for about 2+ months to understand this. But Robert Wyatt at one point got a piano, and it immediately fell through his floor. It immediately fell through the rotten floorboards of his house. So you might remember I got a piano about 2 months ago, and I was worried it was going to fall through my floor. So I had this whole problem of contacting my landlord, making sure the floors were up to code without trying to sound like I was asking for permission. And because I had already put the piano in, I wasn't going to remove it unless I really had to. So I'm reading this book, and fucking Robert Wyatt's piano fell through his goddamn floor. Okay, so that is the updates. Those are the updates for the artist biography series here on this channel. So stay tuned. I am hoping to read more artist biographies and talk about them on the Verbal Journal podcast. I've been painting a lot myself, as I mentioned. I have like 15 plus paintings drying right now in the other room, in different stages, This past week, I worked on a bunch of paintings from like 2020. I added some backgrounds to them. I added other stuff. I worked on some new ones, as I mentioned. Just chipping away, just having a good time, adding things where I feel like it. Okay, let's get into the segments. So, good comment of the week. So, I like to highlight a nice comment that I get. So, good comment of the week on the Breaking Bad video. Someone said, "Not gonna lie, man, I just found your channel and it's great. I can't afford therapy and I just went through some really messed up shit. So some of the feelings and objectives you discuss are really making me think and helping me work through it. Thank you." That is amazing to hear. I'm so happy to hear that. And there's no misunderstanding comment of the week because everyone's being super understanding. So yeah, that's really great. I mean, I'm sorry that the person can't afford therapy and that they're going through a lot, but it's very cool that my videos can help in that way. I rewatched a bit of my Part 8 Better Call Saul video the other day, and I was like, damn, this is dope. I just put so much work into these videos, and yeah, it's really, really fun to make a video and make a journey that kind of proceeds in a way that only you could have dictated. Okay, let's take a break from the segments. That's a lot of segments. But speaking of Breaking Bad, I was just like rewatching a bit of the Better Call Saul episode of Breaking Bad. And I realized that, like, so in Breaking Bad, Saul is doing the same work that he was doing at the start of Better Call Saul. He's serving the same types of clients. Like, Badger could have easily been one of his clients at the start of Better Call Saul. No? Like, that same type of client. But instead of getting whatever small amount he got paid in episode 1 of Better Call Saul, I don't remember the exact amount he got paid, but he's like, this is for all 3 of these clients. And they're like, yeah. And it was like a low amount. It might have been like only 750. Should I look it up? I mean, no, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, right? Should I look it up? Okay, let me look it up. Netflix.gov. What? It's not a website? Netflix.org. There we go. I'm not signed in? Are you fucking kidding me? Sign in. I'm doing a podcast right now. What do you mean I'm not signed in? I bet you're going to autoplay something too.
Whoever has the bottle.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, I did, watching that part 8 video, I did mispronounce Manuel. I pronounced it as 3 syllables, Manuel. I was really trying, guys. I was really trying. So in episode 1 of Better Call Saul, he gets paid. Oh, it's such a good opening courtroom scene. Okay. Oh yeah, I knew they do say exactly how much he gets paid. $700. They show the check. $700. So Jimmy gets $700 for defending 3 kids from very serious charges. He probably had to put tons of hours of work into that. $700. And in Breaking Bad, he charges Badger $4,650. So that's $4,650 divided by 700. That's 6.6, almost 6.66, 6.64 times as much. So he's doing the same exact work. He's charging 6 times as much. As I was rewatching this and writing this note in my verbal journal doc to talk about here, oh, isn't that interesting? He's doing the same work for a lot more money. On the phone in Breaking Bad with Francesca as he's leaving, serving Badger in the court, she's going over potential clients on his schedule for the day, and he says that when she says one, she says another, he goes, that one went public defender, thanks for nothing. So he's explicitly, this is just so interesting to me, and it's one of the things that really does make watching Breaking Bad after Better Call Saul interesting. He's doing the same work for 6 or 7 times the money and explicitly competing with his old self, competing with public defenders who he knows are doing the same work. I mean, he could say, well, I'm doing way better work. But no, he knows they're doing the same work. He was doing that work. And he's charging 6 or 7 times the amount. What's interesting to me about this is I recently had a conversation with a colleague who they're also a therapist, and we used to work together, and now we're both doing different, private practices. And they were telling me about wanting to move into not accepting insurance. And they're moving into canceling their contracts with insurance companies and trying to charge more. So insurance pays about $90 to $100, sometimes $80, sometimes $85, and then sometimes the insurance will allow $90, but they'll pay $40, and then the client pays $50, or they'll allow $90 but pay nothing, and then I'll be like to my client, do you want to just pay less? Because most of my clients don't want to pay $90 and can't really pay $90 the allowed amount, or $100 if it's all processing to their deductible. So I just charge I'll be like, okay, insurance processed your claim. They say that you owe it all. Do you want to pay a lower sliding scale fee? So they'll pay me $50, and then insurance, until they meet their deductible. And that's fine. That's something I'm allowed to do. I've asked insurance companies because I don't want clients to be suffering financially, but so what some people do is they stop accepting insurance, and then they charge, and then they accept a higher amount. They only accept a higher amount than what insurance would allow. Because if I accept, say I accept Blue Cross or something, and then I work with someone who has Blue Cross, I need to charge them the amount that Blue Cross says. That's part of my contract with Blue Cross. I can't be like, hey, do you want to pay me $150? Blue Cross is like, no, you can only charge this client $90 because they're a Blue Cross client. That's part of your contract with us. We, have these allowed amounts. But what people do, and I feel for my friend because he has one child and he has another child on the way, and he supports his family, and he's like, I need to make enough money to support my family. And so it's it's really hard for me to have judgment, even though I sort of do, because he's trying to just, he's not admitting to himself that he's trying to just work with rich clients. Because at the end of the day, if you say my fee is $150 per hour, you will only work with rich clients or clients whose family members are rich and will pay for it, And I wouldn't want to be only working with rich clients. I would find that to be not as meaningful to me myself. But I don't have that pressure. I don't have kids. I don't have a family to support. I have also some money from YouTube, still coming in. Some money from Patreon. Thank you to you all and the members listening. You help take the pressure off, financially. But yeah, even if I had no money from this, I don't have that same pressure. I'm able to just, this year, 2023, I'm making well over double what I made last year, which is fucking crazy. That's because I'm working a lot harder, seeing a lot more clients, and from YouTube. Huge influence from YouTube. So, that's just amazing to me. So I'm fine, but I talked to, my colleague, and it's like, okay, so he's doing that. It just reminds me of the same thing with Jimmy and Saul here, because it's like, you are you can tell yourself, oh, I'm providing a lot of value. Like these people, they really, if they value therapy, and they have that money, they'll pay that money. And it's like, sure, some people will, and you'll work with the people who do. And will that feel good? Because for me, it wouldn't feel as good. I know that at the end of the day, whether I charge someone $150 or $10, which I have clients I charge, once in a while, I'll charge someone a super low fee if they don't have money and their insurance changes or something. And so I'm providing the same value. I'm doing the same work. I'm not trying harder or less hard when a client's paying me more or less. So it just feels a little not cool, I guess, to charge, to strive to make profit over everything else seems like you're sacrificing something hard to put your finger on. Okay, chess segment of the week. Let's talk about the chess segment. Oh, fuck. This is such a big segment, and I don't have a ton of time. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have some time. Okay, I got it. Okay, so there's the chess segment of the week is the Hans Niemann update. So chess.com, after this player, Hans Niemann, was accused by Magnus Carlsen of cheating in a game. Accusations came out about Hans Niemann cheating earlier in his career. He's like a 19, 20-year-old or something. Chess.com, the biggest chess company, came out, this is months ago, submitted a whole report justifying banning Hans from a tournament by talking about all this evidence they had that he had cheated previously. It was stuff that it was worth bringing out, but it was very weird that they did it just to justify that they didn't act on any of this stuff until Magnus had brought it up, and he was also in the process of merging his company with chess.com, which makes it even weirder. Wait, I just got a text. What is this? Okay. So anyways, so I stopped using chess.com. I was I was not on Hans Niemann's side. I think he has not taken accountability for his cheating. He ended up suing chess.com, Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura, and some other entities. He never admitted to his past cheating in any sort of way that took accountability. It's very clear that he has admitted to cheating, and he's been caught cheating, but he's never really taken accountability for it in any clear way. And it's been very defensive and so I was taking no one's side. I didn't take Magnus's side. I didn't take chess.com's side. I didn't take Hans's side. Maybe in various respects, I occasionally sounded like I was taking someone's side, but really, all in all, I just they were all misbehaving. Magnus should not have called Hans out in that way, but he had every right to want Hans to take accountability for his past cheating. He just did it in an emotional, bad way. Anyway, so chess.com finally concluded the legal dispute with Hans Niemann, and Niemann is returning to chess.com, and this is as of this past week. This is what chess.com posted. Chess.com and Hans Niemann have resolved their differences and are moving forward. As many readers will be aware, Chess.com and Niemann, as well as Magnus Carlsen, okay, I don't have to, been engaged in a lawsuit over the past year. Shortly after those events, Since June, both sides have negotiated privately in a good faith effort to resolve their issues and allow the chess world to move forward without further litigation. We are happy to share that all sides have reached an agreement. Chess.com, Magnus, Hans, and Hikaru all have their own opinions about the events surrounding the controversy, and they agree they should each be able to talk openly about their views. In the meantime, Chess.com, Magnus, and Hans have released the following statements about their agreement. Chess.com says, "We are pleased to report that we have reached an agreement with Hans Niemann to put our differences behind us and move forward together without further litigation. At this time, Hans has been fully reinstated to Chess.com, and we look forward to his participation in our events. We would also like to reaffirm that we stand behind the findings in our October 2022 public report regarding Hans, including that we found no determinative evidence that he has cheated in any in-person games." Okay. Okay, well, part of their October report was that they had evidence of Hans cheating over 100 times, including in moneyed tournaments and rating tournaments on chess.com. That was part of their report. So the fact that they're choosing to highlight here that they stand by the part in their report that exonerates Hans without mentioning the part of their report that said they had caught him cheating over 100 times on their website, including in moneyed tournaments. The fact that they're... like, chess.com just has no integrity. Like, banning Hans from their site is totally reasonable. Doing it after Magnus called Hans out is very not reasonable. But doing it in general is reasonable. Backing off of it without commenting on the fact that they said he had cheated 100 times. I don't believe Hans is going to cheat. I don't think he's a risk to cheat. I just have a problem that he has not taken accountability for his past cheating, and I think this sets a really bad precedent. But they just want people to stop blaming them for publishing a 70-page report about a specific chess player just because their business partner and another chess player was accusing that person. So chess.com covering their ass, completely forgetting that they said that this person had cheated over 100 times on their website. Okay. Magnus says, "I acknowledge and understand chess.com's report, including its statement that there is no determinative evidence that Niemann cheated in his game against me at the Sinkefeld Cup. I am willing to play Niemann in future events should we be paired together." Cool. Fair enough. And Hans says, "I am pleased that my lawsuit against Magnus Carlsen at chess.com," he forgot Nakamura, "has been resolved in a mutually acceptable manner and that I am returning to chess.com. I look forward to competing against Magnus in chess rather than in court, and am grateful to my attorneys at Ovid and Ovid for believing in me and helping me resolve the case." Okay, dude. So there was a settlement? I mean, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to take away from this. We're not supposed to know if money exchanged hands? Like, obviously money... I don't know. And then chess.com concludes, "As Hans returns to chess.com, he will be allowed to play in any and all events and will be treated no differently from any other player. Chess.com always retains the right to open and close accounts based on our judgment, and we take that stewardship seriously. We will continue to protect and grow the game." Wow. I mean, it's just... I'm so glad I don't use chess.com anymore. It's just humiliating as a company. That's humiliating. You said he cheated 100 times on your website. You published that. You don't have to allow him back if he cheated 100 times on your website. Like, what are you talking about? But they fumbled so hard that they had to backtrack. Okay, so follow up on another chess thing I talked about last week, okay? So I talked about... Wait, why can't it... Oh, do I have to sign into a different... I talked about last week how Magnus Carlsen still calls himself the world chess champion on his YouTube and on his Twitter. And it's his header on his Twitter. And he calls himself the world chess champion. And he's not. He abdicated the world chess championship. And he abdicated that, and now Ding Liren is the world chess champion. Magnus Carlsen is not the world chess champion. And if you look at Gary Kasparov's Twitter, he calls himself like the 14th world chess champion, I believe. And so Magnus should call himself the 15th, or, he's not going to call himself former. So 15th world chess champion. He refuses to do it. So he just keeps calling himself the world chess champion. He's not. It's not debatable. It's not, no one calls... That's not how language is used. So he's fraudulently continuing to call himself world chess champion because he cannot handle the consequences of his own decision of abdicating the title. So what's interesting to me and why I'm following up on this is he published a book with David Howell, one of the best commentators in chess right now. I'd say arguably the best commentator in chess. He does all the big events. Huge commentator, grandmaster, amazing player, friend of Magnus Carlsen. So they published a book together called Grind Like a Grandmaster. It just came out. So I was like, oh, I wonder what they call Magnus. I was like, I wonder what they call him, because I bet you they don't fucking call him World Chess Champion in that book. I bet you on the back of the book they don't fucking call him World Chess Champion, because some editor is going to be like, no, dude. Sorry, I know you don't have an editor for your Twitter bio and for your Twitter header and for your YouTube bio. I know you don't have an editor for that, so you can call yourself whatever the fuck you want. Actually, you're not World Chess Champion, so we can't put that on the back of the book, Mr. Carlsen. Is how I imagine that conversation going. So when I looked it up on Amazon, it said it refers to Magnus as the greatest chess player of all time, Magnus Carlsen, and his friend Grandmaster David Howell. I thought that was so funny, because like that's legit. That's legit. I mean, that's an opinion, and it's a little bit funny to call yourself that, but I think Magnus has every right to call himself the greatest chess player of all time. I think it's egotistical. I wouldn't do it, but people call him the GOAT all the time. It's very easy to make a case for Magnus being the greatest of all time. He wasn't world champion as long as Garry Kasparov, but I mean the highest rating ever for a long time, right? Or did he surpass Garry Kasparov? Like, he's just like been the highest rated by so long. Like, he's won so many tournaments. Like, you could make a case super easily for him being the greatest chess player of all time. I mean, it's recency bias and stuff, but still, like, you could definitely make that case. What you can't make is the case that he's the world chess champion. So it's funny and reasonable that they did not put that on his book. Very interesting. So I am correct is the point of that segment. Okay. Almost done here. Let's do the fantasy segment. So I'm in a fantasy baseball league. I didn't make the playoffs, and we're in the playoffs now, but I still have a matchup. I guess they're 2-week matchups. I said that last week. Oh, it's not over. So I'm like 46 points behind on the last day here. I have 2 pitchers, and my opponent doesn't have any. So if my pitchers do really well and all my hitters do well, I have a chance of coming back here, but, you know. Wait, they do have a pitcher throwing? Fuck. Did they just add that person? Did they add that pitcher? Are they trying to win? But they're not even, it's not even like doesn't even count. And everyone else in the league is like doing a lot of adding and dropping. Okay, whatever. Screen time report. This is the last segment today, screen time report. So screen time report, I used my phone 27 minutes per day more than the prior week. Tons of YouTube time. Because especially yesterday, I was watching a baseball game using my computer into my TV, and then I was watching on cinema Oscar specials from the past years with Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington. I really got into on my phone, and so I really got into Tim Heidecker and Greg Turkington comedy in the last week. That's a fun development. I watched the trial of Tim Heidecker, and I was like, I'd seen it come up before, but I had never watched it. That is unbelievably funny. I mean, it's really amazing performance art. It really takes comedy to the next level. And so does just their comedy in general. I always liked Tim and Eric. I never watched it a ton. It was always a little bit too much for me. But I respected it and I thought it was brilliant at a lot of points. Sorry, I'm kind of stuffed up today. But yeah, so I've been watching a lot of it. I really Tim Heidecker, his vibe with Greg Turkington is perfect, and I love the understated comedy of it. I love the world building of it. I was watching these old on cinema Oscar specials where he annuls his fake marriage with this person he's married to in the show, and then he gets married to her again on the show, and then they're bringing in stuff from the trial. The trial is just the funniest fucking premise, and the way he reacts to everything in the trial. It's so funny. I just, yeah, so that's been really fun. I've been watching that a lot on my phone. Just, when I'm watching something else on the screen, I'll have that playing on my phone, blah, blah, blah. I'm muted, watching baseball while I'm listening to the comedy. That's my vibe while I'm painting and stuff. But anyways, I'm going to get on with my day. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope you have a great rest of your day or night. I will talk with you again next week if you choose to listen. Feel free to listen to old episodes between now and then if you would like. And I will, I guess I'll go. Okay. And goodbye. This is a podcast or something like that.